Hey everyone, this is Rachel and welcome to another scrapbooking process video. If you hang out until after the video is through, there are always detailed shots of my current layout. Let's get going! Hey everyone! So I'm here and this is the sketch we are using. It is by, I believe it's by Chamel. I'm not 100% sure. Christy picked it out. And just in case you're wondering, I originally had been doing this in real time, this particular portion of it, but there was a sort of corruption type thingy. So this is a really weird one where this part just after this I had already voiced over and everything, and it wasn't until I went back and listened to it that I realized that there was all sorts of crunkling noises during this part, and I have no idea why. So basically I'm explaining to you that Christy and I are working with Chamel to make sure you head on over to Christy's channel and check out her take on this sketch, and also that I am working with my secret not secret kit club kit that I bought for myself back in August. So I'm going to be working with exclusively stuff from the Secret Not Secret Kit Club kit, except I pull in some, I believe, some alphas from my own stash. But other than that, I am super excited to work with this color palette. I'm going to be doing some mixed media. I'm using my hands even though I have no idea what I was originally saying. So in just a few seconds, we're going to get on to the sped up voiceover part. And oh, I'm telling you, don't forget to check out the link to Christy's channel in the description box below. All right, folks, I should be flipping over to fast forwarded time in just a second. So enjoy. So I'm starting off with some white cardstock. This is from either Stampin' Up! Or Close to My Heart. I find they have super duper smooth cardstock that's great for mixed media as long as you're not adding a lot of water. So if you're using watercolors, you definitely need to add gesso to this. But for what I'm using, which is going to be the Nuvo Mousse, it definitely works quite well. So I'm pulling out several of the different 6x6 pieces. I'm just trying to figure out which ones I want to use. I knew I wanted to use something multicolor, and I knew I wanted to use something with that mustard and that true blue as well. I've also pulled out this 6¼ by 6¼ piece of paper. I have zero idea where it's from, but I has gold foil stars on it, so I didn't want to use the whole thing. So instead, I'm just going to trim up pieces, and I apologize. My dog has decided to investigate who I'm talking to, so she's tap dancing around. I do have 4 photos like in the sketch. My photos, however, are 2x3 rather than the square 2x2 photos, and I am going to trim them down right now. So you'll notice some of them have some just extra space of my couch, and then 2 of them do not. And here it is, I'm making a choice to cut off more of my nephew's head than cut off more of the dog, because that's the type of person I am. It just worked out that it didn't make sense to cut off more of the dog because then you wouldn't be able to tell it was a dog. It would just look like a lump of fur. And for some reason, that seemed important to me. All right, so they're all trimmed down so they fit on the 6x6 paper. That was the entire point of trimming them down. And the fact that I cut off my nephew's head rather than cut off my dog was just bonus points. So I have it going right now with the arrow paper on both sides and then the feather paper being as a backing piece. I am going to switch that around and have the purple Dreamcatcher side be on there as well. So I like the way, I knew I wanted the feather piece to be my background. I really, really like that paper. I think it's super pretty. I like that it has all the different colors in it. The colors are really more being drawn from the fact that my couch is teal than anything else because my nephew is wearing white and my dog is brownish black. So, and of course my ATG runs out, so I have to replace it. And I immediately have to take that tape and put it in the garbage because here comes Miss Xanthe investigating if there's any glue tape for her to eat. And then she hears me coming back and she's like, okay, see ya, bye. All right, so I go ahead and replace my ATG and everything is happy. I'm going to trim off that feather paper So it's not a huge mat rather than what, 6 by 6. And I have the star papers and that blue as iCat design paper. I'm going to add that back into my layout because I think it adds a nice blue color that wasn't there before, obviously. So I'm liking the way this is looking, but I'm not loving it. I'm just trying to get the layers right because I want that star paper to be the base layer because I'm planning on doing colorful mixed media behind it. So I want that pop of white around my layers. So now I like how it looks. By trimming off that just little piece made it so much better. So I'm going ahead and gluing down my layers. So when I'm doing background mixed media, I've learned my lesson in trying to where I end up covering up the majority of it. Now, that's not to say there aren't times when I'm doing mixed media where really all I want is the edges of it, especially when you're talking about the packaging technique. A lot of times the main meat of the packaging technique looks awful, and it's really just the edges that end up looking lovely. This time, I'm not planning on doing packaging technique. I'm going to be using that stencil from Tim Holtz and the Nouveau Mousse in Lilac Lavender, I think it's called. I'm not totally sure. I don't remember exactly what it's called. Um, as kind of a border. So what I'm going to do is mark where my photo block is, and that way I know I don't have to do mixed media there. So this is one of the mini stencils from Tim Holtz. They came in a 3-pack. I think I have like 2 sets of them, and I'm using an ink foam blender along with my Nouveau Mousse. And the consistency of this is kind of like creamy bronzer, if that makes any sense. Now, when I first do this, I actually don't go over far enough, so I do add an extra bit to the right hand side there, and you'll note there's a line. You don't see that once I put my photos down. Now everything is all dry and shiny, and it does not come up off the paper once it's completely dry, so that's super awesome. And I love the way it looks with my photos and the papers there. So I'm poking around for the other piece of mixed media, and that is an Inklings. I think it's an Inklings. It's an Inklings or a Creamies. I don't remember which. And I'm just going to be using a water brush and tapping some sprinkles on over my mixed media. And by using the water brush, I'm getting a really fine mist rather than big droplets, which was the look I was going for. And because they're fine droplets, they dry pretty quickly. So I'm just going to work on the part of the sketch where there are strips of paper at the top and the bottom. Because I don't want to break into my full-size papers yet, what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off pieces of the 6x6 paper pad and then use embellishments to make them appear longer. So I'm just using this one that has a multicolor polka dots all over it. And then I'm going to basically chop them into 1/3, 2/3 sections of those, and then use the stickers to make them appear longer. I'm checking to see if my droplets are dry, and they seem to be, so I'm going to go ahead and start attaching things. So I don't want that full inch, and I'm using the grid lines in my mat to line this up because basically I just didn't want to accidentally have it end up being super duper wonky. I'm okay with a little wonky, but I didn't want it to be super duper wonky with the edging there. So I have a bunch of the stickers from the Moonchild collection, some of them word and phrase, some of them more square, and some of them do still have words. So I start off with this phrase sticker and then the multicolor dream catcher, and then I also add this circular arrow sticker. And it's like one of those things that fools your eye, so it makes you think that that paper is longer than it actually is. And I'm just double checking to make sure those droplets at the top are completely dry because I didn't want to end up smudging the ink right at the top of my layout. And I'm going to do the same thing, just lining it up with the lines in my mat. Now, in the sketch, there's obviously much more of this top and bottom piece than I'm putting in as I'm running it off the edge. And the reason for that is because I did the mixed media, which did not appear in the sketch. I didn't want to have the top and bottom pieces meet up with the mixed media. I did want a little bit of the white space. I'm trying to remember right now that I'm working upside down, so that when I do my, if I have stickers that have words and everything, I need to make sure that those are upside down. And I do pick a circular word sticker and then a word and phrase sticker, and then I'm just going to use my trimmer to chop off everything that ran off the page. Now it was funny because you'll see I cut that little blue sticker. I'm like, I don't want to waste this. So I chopped it in half before I put it down. So now you see all of my stuff looks like it is much longer than the actual 6x6 it is. Now I normally would add liquid glue to this, but the mixed media in here is really light and there isn't any in the center of my layout, so I felt comfortable just using ATG in this particular case. Now I want to add a bit of blue to the right-hand side. So I take one of the pocket cards, and I just trim one in half and I add that a little bit. And then I'm going to add 3 more of these phrase stickers over there as well. Now, looking back at it, I am going to go back and add some of that mustard yellow in either a sticker, or maybe I can find something in my stash to add, because I really do think it needs, I don't end up adding a third piece of mustard yellow to it. And, watching back with this video, I'm like, oh, I really, really, really need a third piece of the mustard yellow. I did add a couple of the wood veneer stars that came in my Secret Not Secret kit, along with the You Are Magical die cut. And I'm looking to what to use for my alphas, and I finally think, oh, you know what? I'm going to add those navy ones that actually came in my wild hair kit for part of them, which are the first 2 words, which are, wow, words, okie dokie, which are let's be. And then I add this little clear sticker. It's like kind of like a little divider, and then I add a couple more by the phrase stickers, a couple of these arrows, and that's when I finally decide the let's be magical will work over on the left hand side. So I go ahead and add some glue, and I'm going to finish off my title with these gold Maggie Holmes thicker, they're not thickers, they're puffy alphas. And oh, I needed to make a apostrophe for the word let's from the number 9. But I'm going to finish them off with the word models. And because it's going over mixed media, I'm going to reinforce it with liquid glue, but I'm going to make a mistake where the center of my word should be. So it's going to be off kilter. It's too far to the left. It should be 1 space over. I am going to fix that a little bit by adding some of these wood veneer stars. Rather than put them down by the bottom where I had originally thought to do them, I instead did them up by the title to kind of fool your eye into thinking it's correct. So I'm going to start drawing some lines for journaling. So you guys might be thinking, what a bizarre